Woo! Who's ready? I'm ready. Hope you guys are doing well. Happy Thursday. For me, it is Happy Mobility Day, one of my favorite days of the week. I will say this, if you are feeling like you are borderline overtraining, let's say you are working out several days a week, that's 5, 6 days, sometimes mix in some two-a-days. excuse me. You could be overtraining. And what I mean by that is under recovering, especially if you're getting a little bit older and really trying to work out like you used to when you were 20. You have to make some changes, not major changes, just like what I did today. And I actually have my younger guys doing it too, because they really earned it by doing multiple workouts during the week. Usually by Thursday, most of my guys are on their fifth or sixth workout, because they're doing some afternoon cardio workouts as well. But anyway, if you're feeling like your fourth, fifth, or sixth workout day of the week are you're just kind of dragging ass, you may want to change it up a little bit and add in, or I shouldn't say add in, replace one of those hard days. Replace your day 4 workout of the week with the mobility day. And that's what we do. So on Thursdays, we do a mobility day. And a mobility day is this: you do 5 minutes of cardio and you follow it with 5 minutes of 5 minutes of non-impact cardio. Follow it with 5 minutes of stretching, foam rolling, or some kind of massage tool, vibrating massage tool, to just kind of work out any aches and pains that you may have. You can also do a yoga class if you want to do that. Sometimes we'll do a yoga class as well for an hour. And then we'll go swimming, where the swims are very relaxed as well. It's just a 10-minute swim for distance. Then you do a 10-minute tread. You can also do some aqua jogging in there, where you're just running in place, get those high knees up there in the deep end. And you can tread with no hands. You can tread with just hands if you need to loosen up your shoulders a little bit. And then you just do some dynamic stretches in chest deep water just for about 5-10 minutes, and you're done. That still takes like an hour and a half. So it's not like it's an easy day, but it's a day where you walk out of the gym, you're refreshed, you're not exhausted, you are and not in pain, which is really nice. Especially if you're doing a lot of foam rolling and stretching in there, and the water just really helps you as well. But anyway, that's our mobility, and that's what we do on Thursdays. Now, what does this do? This kind of replaces a butt kicking day, but we just move our butt kickers to the right, and we're going to get after it tomorrow, and we're going to get after it Saturday. And what it enables us to do is to hit those Friday and Saturday workouts and be closer to full capacity, 90%, maybe 95%. It's not like a true rest day, and you're never really at 100%, maybe, unless you're really trying to, take a couple of days off and recover, sleep real well, eat real well, those type of things. But, during the middle of the week, you try to recover as best you can each day. And you may find that you're not overtraining, you're just under recovering, because you could be doing a perfect workout, eating well, doing all that, and then you have a missed couple of nights of sleep, and you're going to exhibit some of those signs of overtraining. So those are how I start off these things. So I tend to start off these live Q&As with kind of a theme. And it's up to you if you want to go on that theme, or you can ask questions however you want. So if you guys have some questions, feel free to ask. In fact, I'm going to start it off here by asking you guys got any questions? And we got our first questions showing up already. So anyway, looks like we have recommendations for preparing for boats on head. Yes, we used to do just a lot of neck exercises. So anytime you're laying down doing flutter kicks or sit-ups or working on those type of regular laying down exercises, just lift your head up and down, like 50 times, then do left and right, 50 times, then roll over on your belly and do it again, up and down, left and right. That is the easiest way to do it. That will help you build some neck muscles without any weight. Now you can add weight to that and put a dumbbell on your head, put a sandbag on your head. Another thing that we actually do is we do a workout called the Sand Baby Murph. If you do a Google search, in fact, I'll type it in here, Sand Baby Murph. You put my name on it and you'll definitely find it. Sand Baby Murph Stu Smith. Search that and you will find a great little workout done with a sandbag where you do, it's kind of a log PT and boats on heads simulation. So you're going to do chest carry lunges like you would with a log. You're going to do push presses with that 40, 50 pound sandbag. Like you do with a log. You're going to do shoulder squats like you do with a log. You're going to do sit-ups with it. You can even do push-ups with it, though I will say push-ups with a log's fairly easy. It's just teamwork. But where we do is like every, let's say, couple of sets, there's a distance where we have to run with that sandbag either on your shoulder or we put it on our head and we actually kind of run with it. Now, you don't want to run where you're bouncing a lot, obviously, but you would like to just kind of march from the waist down and, have that weight, on your head. Just be careful with it. It's not an ideal exercise, but as long as you've got a good solid foundation of neck work, maybe some neck bridges, like in wrestling, if you've done some of those, or played football, run around with a helmet, your neck's going to be plenty fine for that activity. All right, so let's see what's next. I'm doing a pretty long lifting session this winter. Then in the spring, I'm going to do the SF running program while doing the swimming. That's good. In calisthenics, in your complete guide to Navy SEAL fitness. What do you think? I like that. That's what we do. We do a winter lift cycle. In fact, our winter lift cycle options are right here. You can do tactical strength as a winter lift cycle. Navy SEAL weight training workout is a winter lift cycle. And then, the warrior workouts like you see behind me there, they're broken up into winter lift cycles as well. So there's a lot of options. Maximum Fitness is a winter lift cycle. Now that's more of a hypertrophy winter lift cycle than it is a powerlifting winter lift cycle. And I would say that these are more on the power, still do a little hypertrophy in there, but it's tends to be building strength more than trying to build big muscles. Right. But anyway, it works. You're going to gain weight as long as you eat. And then you can trim it back up in the spring. Been doing that for 20 years. In fact, if you do a search on 20-year periodization, you will see that is exactly how we have been doing it for over 20 years and how I've been teaching it for about 15 years. Because I had to see if it worked first. All right. So I have a lot of trouble balancing my calisthenics, weights, and conditioning. Yeah, I have a lot of tips on it. What do you mean balancing them? It depends on what you're trying to do. I mean, you can't get good at everything at the same time. So here's the elements of fitness that tend to work best together. Strength and power, speed and agility. Those four work really well together, right? You can get good at all of those together. Now, when I say speed, I mean sprinting speed. Short distance speed. I'm not talking about timed run speed. Though you can build a good foundation and a VO2 max doing some sprint workout stuff too. Nothing wrong with that. However, if you're trying to get good at muscle stamina and cardiovascular endurance, that's where it gets a little tougher. And you have to be smart about it. The way we do it in our programs is we will warm up with calisthenics, we will lift heavy, and then we will cool down with running and swimming. So we're getting it all in there, but we're really more focused on the strength side right now in the fall and winter. And we're using the warm up cool down phases of the workout to maintain calisthenics and endurance, because it's really hard to build strength and endurance at the same time. You almost have to do them in two different, in fact, not almost, you really have to do them two separate cycles. But you can maintain one and work on the other to get better. That's completely possible. Especially what I would do is take your strength now, whatever you're good at doing, and make that something you try to maintain, and then put your weakness out there and try to focus on that weakness versus trying to get good at your weakness and get better at your strengths. Does that make sense? All right. Because in the big picture, it's going to have to work like this. You're going to have to be good at strength and power, speed and agility, muscle stamina, and cardiovascular endurance. And that may mean multiple forms of that. That's running, swimming, and rucking. And then you're also going to have to maintain some flexibility and mobility. That's why I started off this show with talking about mobility day. Those are very important. Plus, they give you a rest day so you can hit those next workouts a little better. So anyway, I would suggest, if you want tips, get a plan, right? And don't try to make something up and try to get good at everything all at once, because it typically won't happen. And you'll find that you're just going to get tired, and you might get good at one thing to the detriment of another, or you might just not see any growth in anything because you're running too much and you're lifting too much, and you're not able to build strength and you're not able to build endurance. So anyway, that's typically how I've seen things over the years play out. I've seen people get better at everything, but they had to do it in cycles. If that makes sense. CrossFit, weights, calisthenics on top of running, swimming, best buds prep. They're all great. You have to do all those. So I would get in a cycle and do them. Like I said, I'm going to put your question in with the previous question, is you can't do them all at once. Now, if you want to get good at running and swimming, you need to be in a good running and swimming cycle. If you want to maintain your running and swimming, you can get good at other elements like strength and muscle stamina. Well, strength and power, speed and agility, by maintaining those. And like I said, we use them as a warm-up, cool-down primarily for our workout. So right now in our winter lift cycle, our runs may only be 20 minutes long. So that's like a 10-minute run to kind of warm up, and then a 10-minute fast as you can to come back and see if you can negative split it. In that time, you should be getting really close to that 1.5 mile pace that you're shooting for. So we maintain that 1.5 mile pace, but we're coming back in and really working on some goal pace on the pool to maintain your endurance. Before that, we've been working on strength and power. We warmed up with calisthenics. So that's how we do it. I'll write something up on it this week. In fact, that's a really good question. And I'll write up a sample workout, and I'll post it up there this week on how we do that. So I know the PST requires sit-ups. Do you believe they are still an effective core exercise? Curious to how your opinion. Jeff and I talk about this all the time. In fact, we mentioned it on a recent show. No, I think there are many better core activities. However, if you are part of a world that still tests sit-ups, and if you want to get good at sit-ups, you need to figure out your pace in those sit-ups. That means you got to practice sit-ups. Now, can you do other exercises that might help you with sit-ups? Sure. Knee ups, plank poses, all those things balance out a good, strong core. You still got to do flutter kicks. You got to do leg levers. So there's a lot of exercises that you need to expose yourself to. Otherwise, you really setting yourself up for, not meeting a standard maybe. So yeah, what we do is this: we focus on a goal pace of sit-ups. So in 30 seconds, I try to get all my guys to get 20 to 25 sit-ups in 30 seconds, and they muscle memory that pace. So in 1 minute, they're at 40 to 50, right? So if you do the math, in 2 minutes, they're at 80 to 100. That's a good sit-up, and you can learn how to do that. It's an endurance exercise, right? But here's where people go wrong: is that's all they do, right? You can't just do sit-ups and crunches. You got to balance out the rest of the system, because the core is not just your abs. It's an entire system from your hips all the way to your shoulders. So you need to work your lower back, your upper back, your chest and shoulders. It's all connected to what we call the core, which is the spine. So when we talk about core exercises, no, there are really no effective single core exercise other than a plank and different progressions of a plank. If you think about what a plank is, you're just holding everything tight. That's good, right? You start going one hand up, you're on your side. That's even better. You're starting to engage other muscles of that a little harder. Then now you start moving, right? So you start moving like you're doing bear crawls. That is a moving plank. That's starting to add to the core effect of your exercise. If you really want to make it hard, you go up and down hills or stairs in that position, like you're bear crawling backwards up a hill or stairs. Those are additional challenges to the core, right? So no, I'm not a fan of sit-ups unless you have to do sit-ups. I personally don't do a lot of sit-ups because I won't ever take another sit-up test in my life. So I do a lot of plank poses. I still do flutter kicks just because, they're good for the hips. I do a lot of rollouts with the wheel and do a lot of TRX rollouts. And of course, your lifts are going to be very good on your core. So when you're talking about lifting things from the ground, like deadlifts and other squats and other activities, power cleans, all that is a really big core activity. So you got to think core exercises or core muscles as a system, not just a single exercise. So that's my 2 cents on core. So is Jeff Nichols wrong because he hates sit-ups? No, he's not. I mean, you should hate sit-ups. They're a horrible test of core ability. It's just a test, but if you got to take that test, you got to take the test and get used to it. I like what the Army has done. They've gotten rid of sit-ups in this new fitness test they have, and they've done hanging knee ups. Well, they call them leg tucks, where you actually have to hold the bar like this. So you're hanging, so it's a grip exercise, and it's almost half a pull-up because you're kind of almost in this flexed elbow position here. Then you got to bring your feet up to the bar. Or I'm sorry, not in this one. In a different test, you have to do that. You have to bring your knees to your elbows. So your elbows are right here. You got to bring your knees up to it. So it's a very challenging knee up versus like a vertical knee up that you might have, on a dip bar. But yeah, those are better core tests, in my opinion. The Marine Corps has gone to the plank pose, and to max out the Marine Corps core test is a 4-minute plank pose versus 100 crunches in 2 minutes, which I think is a better test of core activity and better for you. An isometric flex is much better than a whole bunch of repetitions. So answer is, if you have to take them, you should learn how to do them, right? If you don't have to take them, there's many other options for you that are better. It is normal to feel the DOMS effect. That's delayed onset muscle soreness, more in hypertrophy than strength training. Good question. I don't really know. I've felt it in both. Basically, it works like this: whatever you do differently, whether that's you added a new exercise or you added a new set rep phase and added a weight, something like that, you will typically feel some form of soreness. The new exercise, 100% of the time you throw in deadlifts and you haven't done deadlifts in a year, guess what? You're going to feel that for quite some time. Same with bench press. Sometimes I feel like when I go heavy and I hit a strength cycle where I'm doing 1 to 3 repetitions, I feel that a lot more than had I done, 4 sets of 25 reps or 200 push-ups. Same muscle groups, just now I'm sore because I'm doing it differently. So yes, it is normal to have that. In fact, I did a leg day the other day on Friday that I didn't shake that leg day off until almost Tuesday. And it was nothing crazy. It was just something I hadn't done in a while. It was very similar to our very first question about doing the chest carry lunges with a sandbag. We did 100 lunges per leg in multiple sets to accumulate that. But that 100 lunges per leg with a sandbag crushed me. I was not prepared for that. And I've been doing lunges and squats and high rep stuff all summer and early fall. That one just got me for some reason. I don't think I've done quite that volume. So anytime you change the volume, you change the weight, you change the exercise, you're going to feel some form of soreness. So that is typical. Good question. Recently started your beginning runner program. Running outside is not feasible. How can I use a treadmill, simulate outdoors? That's a tough one. Some people will tend to, increase the elevation a notch, maybe a percentage or two, to replicate running outdoors. They say that does that. I don't know if that is absolutely scientifically proven. You just got to do it. I know that when I run during the winter, as I'm transitioning out of winter lift phase, I'll probably spend a little bit more time on the treadmill because there's ice outside. Don't feel like running on ice. Yes, I am better when I get into the spring running phase because I have run and I did it on a treadmill. So you can maintain your running pace. You can get better at your running pace on a treadmill. You just have to be diligent about it and do it and not get too caught up in the weeds about can I simulate outdoor conditions, because you're not outdoors. How do you get rid of elbow pain after working out? You need to figure out what exercises is causing that elbow pain. Is it a push exercise or is it a pull exercise? And then I would probably lay off that exercise for a while. And typically it's one or the other. Sometimes it can be really bad. If both hurt, you really need to take off some upper body days. But if one particular direction's hurting and the other one is not, you can still do the other half of your upper body, all the pull exercises versus all the push exercises, for instance. But you might want to ice it, might want to take some Motrin, some type of anti-inflammatory, might want to wrap it, put some compression on it. That's what I would do. See how it feels in your next workout with a sleeve over it, because that may help. And then make sure anytime you're working out with a kind of some pain involved, you should definitely be icing it and taking some kind of anti-inflammatory medication just to stay on top of it so you can alleviate the pain. And hopefully you can work your way through it versus have to take a week off of all those exercises. Sometimes you have to do that. Just depends on what your deal is. Thanks for your time. Thank you for saying that. How to make condition training like elite soldiers and keep growing lean muscles at the same time to look very aesthetic. What's the secret technique behind it and how do you do it? Well, I don't know. Never really cared about aesthetic bodybuilding style workouts. Well, I take that back. When I was 14 years old, I probably did. I was looking at big muscles, because that was what you wanted to do. But then eventually those goals turned into I want to be better at sports. And then those goals turned into I want to be in the military. Then those goals turned into I want to go special ops. So never really focused on, worrying too much about the aesthetic portion of that. Now, did the aesthetics come with that? Yes, absolutely. And they come with that because you don't overeat and just get big. You still mix in some weight training, some calisthenics, and some cardio options throughout the entire year. You just do it in different cycles. So even if you were to, not necessarily want to serve, but you wanted to get in good shape and wanted to look good, these training programs could do that for you 100%. Whether it's the calisthenics cardio workout or it's actually going through a winter lift cycle like we do in our tactical fitness periodization program, you can still achieve all those goals, be in shape to do that stuff and still look good. But like I said, I've never really concerned myself with the aesthetic part of that. Let's see. Can you have tattoos before joining the Navy? Yes, you can. You should read about the tattoo policy online. They just changed it, and it's quite liberal, actually. You can't have things on your hand. You can't have things on your neck. So basically, if you were in a full sleeve uniform, you wouldn't see tattoos. Obviously, you can't have them on your face. So other than that, they're pretty lenient. And you don't want to have any racist tattoos. I think brandings are I don't know about illegal, but I don't think they're waiverable. I don't think you can get in if you have brands. That's one of those things that may require waiver if you can get waived for it. I'm not sure. They look at it as mutilation, self-mutilation versus a tattoo. All right. So just got recovery mode. Oh, good. Still doing physical therapy, but work through your stretches and mobility from the Tactical Fitness Foundation Recovery After 40 book. Great book. Thanks. Doing core exercises for the first time in a little over a year. Just want to say thank you. Oh, good. Nice work. Yeah, that is one of those programs that even though it says tactical fitness over 40, you don't have to be 40 to do it. If you're beat up at 30, if you're beat up at 20. In fact, I've had some teenagers who have never worked out before in their life start off with the phase 1 tactical fitness over 40 book because it's a good foundation builder. That's what it's for. It builds a foundation if you've lost it because you've just been beat up and haven't done anything in years, or if you're just now starting. That's a good beginner base, and it will get you going and build good habits. And like John Doe here saying, working on core exercise for the first time in a while. So that's good. Nice work. Let's see. Next PRT cycle will include planks. Interesting. Yeah, you know what? Here's the problem. Like the regular Navy and Marine Corps are using planks in the next PRT cycle. The Spec Ops groups have not changed it yet. Will they change it? I don't know. It's possible. They may change it to a plank pose as well, but for right now, they have not, and I haven't heard any talk of them doing that. So sit-ups may still be in the PST, right? The physical screening test for SEAL, SWIC, and all that stuff. Army SF, they have a new fitness test as well. I'm not sure if they're going to do that in addition to the other one. It's still kind of in that, between, 2019 and 2020, we'll probably have a better vision of how that is going to change. But it seems like a lot of people are getting out of the sit-up test and adding plank poses or knee ups. So I'm all in favor for it. I'm excited for it personally. Stu, have I done a video on salary and benefits to joining SEALs? No, I have not. That's something that is, once again, reference material. And it also depends on where you live, because here's the deal. You do get extra pay for being in Spec War. dive pay, jump pay, hazard duties pay. If you know a language and you're competent in it, you'll get extra money for knowing a language. So those alone right there can be, several $1,000s in addition to your salary. Plus where you live. If you live out in town, you're going to get a variable housing allowance that is legit. We'll probably add, if you're out in California, probably add $30,000 a year to your salary that is non-taxable that you can use for rent. That's a really good deal. And a lot of people don't really think about the variable housing allowance as income because it's an allowance versus taxable income. But, if you were put the math together, you immediately bounce up into the, $50,000-$60,000 range, with all the extra benefits, as a E5, out in California, E4, E5. Let's see. No, but I haven't done a show on that because I don't know the exact details. You can look those up online and see what the variable housing allowances are for your particular time and service and rank for every different city. You just got to do the research on it. These are very appreciated. What's the best way to rehab an ankle that has been strained or rolled? You know what? I am king of rolled ankles. I've rolled my right ankle so many times that I've gotten surgery on it, actually. I've used to sprain my ankle in football and rugby, and then 2 days later, I'd be playing in the game, taping up and go, right? That's probably why I got surgery on it, 10 years later. But the way I've always done it when it was needed to go quick this is old school. You do 5 minutes on a bike, right? And just pedal, get the blood flowing a little bit. And then you stick your leg in a bucket of ice about, mid thigh, or I'm sorry, mid shin, your whole foot in ice water, and hold that there for 5 minutes. That really hurts. And then you try to warm it up again with a bike ride. 5-minute bike ride, 5 minutes on, 5 minutes off, 5 minutes on, 5 minutes off. And that works really well. And then you compress it up, get some good compression on it and elevate it when you're not standing. And, if you need to roll on it sooner than later, I'd recommend not doing it immediately. But you have to, make sure your blouse, your boots are tied tight. You got a little extra, wrap on it, some kind of, helps you with stability a little bit, and then roll if you have to roll. If you don't have to roll, then don't run on it for a while. I will say this: agility stuff is almost impossible with a sprained ankle. It hurts. You can run straight with it and typically not be in too much pain. But like I said, the best answer is to just rest, ice, and let it heal. But you can still let it heal with that 5 minute on, 5 minute off routine. Ice, warm it up, ice, warm it up. But yeah, been through that way too many times. I've probably sprained each ankle over 10 times each. Probably 15 in the one that I had surgery in. So been there right in the middle of season, rugby football season. You just suck it up and go. But if you don't have to do that, then you don't have to do that. Let's see. Let's see here. All right. Have I ever worked with Seabees? Not professionally. I mean, we had a couple of Seabees in our buds class that were Seabees that moved over. They were like the they were the underwater construction guys. So they were already divers that were Seabees. They were a lot of fun and did well at buds. But no, unfortunately, other than knowing Seabees that, I went to school with at the Naval Academy that became Seabees, I haven't worked with them professionally, but, they do a great service within the Navy. Tweaked rotator cuff. That one requires a little bit of rest as well. I have a workout called the lightweight shoulder workout. It's in most of my books. Basically, it's a lot of like 5-pound dumbbells, and if 5-pound dumbbells hurt, that's a good sign of like, don't do a whole lot. But if you can get through it with 3 to 5-pound dumbbells, it's lateral raises with 3 exercises: thumbs up, thumbs down, out in front, crossing over your head, doing military press, doing reverse flies. It's a series of about 6 or 7 exercises that you need to do 10 reps each, and with very light weight, and it works those rotator cuffs really well. Some of the smaller muscles of the shoulder, actually, that link into those tendons. But that's a good one. Also, internal, external rotations with the rubber bands. That's also a good one. But the biggest thing is just take it easy. Something I've done in the past is tread water. Like, it may hurt to swim, so you can't do freestyle. So you might have to do side stroke and not use an arm. Maybe just use it at the bad arm as the bottom arm kind of skull, and use a good arm for the top arm pull. Or you just tread with just your arms, and you may find that loosens things up pretty well for you. Just do a bunch of figure eights with your arms. May help you. Like I said, and if any of that hurts, then it's a bigger problem, and you need to give it more rest or go see a doctor. So let's see here. It's our best time to stretch. I cycle home after going to the gym late at night, and that's when I feel hip flexors get tight the most. Yeah, you know what? I like stretching before bed. That is a big one. And I can tell when I blow it off and I don't do it, and I can tell the next day how I feel. So it's become a habit to just get a quick 10-minute stretch, 15, 20 minutes before bed. That's very helpful for me. But I always like to stretch after a workout. When I talk about stretching, that's static stretching after a workout. Before a workout, if you're going to warm up, I do some static stretching before the workout, but it's after at least 10 minutes into it where I'm already warmed up from running, jumping jacks. We do this back and forth pyramid workout. So like if I'm working upper body, we'll go 1 push-up, run to the other side of a football field, 2 push-ups, run back, 3, 4, 5, go up to 10. You got yourself 1,000 yards of running, and you've done 55 push-ups. Now you can do some stretching. That's a really good warm-up for upper body stuff. You can throw pull-ups on one end if you want to do that as well. But keep the reps real easy. Use that as a warm-up, and then start hitting your higher reps after you've done that kind of dynamic warm up along with some static stretching. I found that works well for me and alleviating pain. Stories interspersed with your depth breakdowns. I'm recovering from a hip surgery, which came after 3 reconstruction surgeries across both shoulders. Been out a while. Woo! Wow. Yeah, that's a tough one, man. You have been out a while. Yeah, I would just say, treat yourself like a beginner. And I see you posted again down here where you said gone from 0 pull-ups to 11 in 8 weeks. That's good. 14 push-ups to 50. So progress is occurring. Oh, that's good, man. Good job. Way to build it. But, as you'll see is like when you've been out of it for a while, you can't jump into where you were when you were 20, right? You can't just, hey, I used to run in high school. I'm 30 years old now. Let me do one of my old high school workouts. That's just stupid. A lot of people do that though, and then they wonder why they're hurt because they did too much. So everything's got to be a progression. You got to treat yourself like a beginner and build yourself up and have some patience. Otherwise, you're just going to wind up hurting yourself and feeling some unnecessary overuse injuries that you've created for yourself that may slow you down even more than if you just started off easy. Because sometimes those overuse injuries say, hey, I can't work out anymore because I can't run, can't swim. So you just screwed things up. Say, do you have any special offer if I buy one of your books in one. Buy all of your books in one. I do. I've had a couple people ask me for a coupon code and then they never used it. So, email me. I'll share it with you if you want to try it out. I'll save you 33%. So, and I'll have it last for you for the day you want to use it. So let's see. Is it possible to prepare to prevent SIPE in BUD? SIPE is swimming induced pulmonary embolism syndrome, I think. SIPE. I don't know, man. I never had it. I've never even seen it. And we had some guys have it. I guess I never saw it until BUDS. Not sure why that happens, to be honest with you. Maybe people inhale water. I have no idea. I don't know how to prevent that, to be honest with you. I never inhaled water. Maybe that helps. Let's see. Thank you for your answer. If I have to choose between NSCA strength and conditioning and the essentials of tactical strength and conditioning, which is better for my tactical training plan? Are you talking about the certification? Because this one is the NSCA's tactical strength and conditioning book, and this one is their CSCS book. I'm a CSCS studying for the TSAC, just because debating on whether or not I'm really going to take it or not. I'm trying to figure out if I need it, but there are a lot of good people in that, and the conferences are fun. So thinking about just doing it anyway. But the CSCS has been really helpful. I highly recommend that one. If you're looking at getting into training. See, how can I increase my push-ups now that I have completed the push-up push program? Well, you go into what's next and you go back to a normal push-up program, which would be every other day. In fact, if you're in a PST world, I have a classic PST week where you do a PT pyramid on Monday, a superset on Wednesday, and a max rep set on Friday or Saturday. So instead of every day you're doing push-ups like you did for 2 weeks or 10 days, you do it every other day like a normal split routine. So the last thing you want to do is daily push-ups for a long period of time, because eventually you're just going to quit growing and seeing results. So you got to change things up. And the best way to do that too is also recover fully before you do them again, especially high volume. Where people screw up is they do a lot of high volume and they never really recover from a high volume day of push-ups. And then the next day they do, let's say, a heavy bench press day. Then the next day they do a heavy volume push-up day. And so they just did 3 days in a row of chest that blew it up. They never really recovered from it. Now, when you're young, you could probably get away with it for a little while. As you get older, your recovery takes more time. So there you go. What's your take on David Goggins workouts? I think David Goggins is a beast. He is a mentally tough dude for sure. I just happen to be in the school of thought where, look, I like hard workouts. I push and I've overpushed, I've overtrained. I've done things to a point where I injured myself. And I personally prefer to not teach that. The last thing I want people to do is have to spend 2 months or longer not able to run because they broke their foot doing a marathon out of nowhere, right? Just for the gut check purposes. There's a fine line between mentally tough and stupid, and you have to figure that out yourself. Like, where are you on that line? And personally, for me, if you're hurting yourself, hey, it does you no good in the long term. if you're still trying to get to a particular training program. David Goggins is on his own schedule. He can go challenge himself. I can go challenge myself however I prefer to. I don't have to answer to the man in 6 months because I'm joining the Navy or going to be trying to go through buds, right? I don't have to do that. So you have to consider why you are doing an event that's going to probably hurt you. We just had a guy run a 100-mile run and he broke his foot, now has stress fractures in his feet, can't run for the next 2 to 3 months. Hey, that's great. You did 100 miles in 33 hours. But what has it done for you? Hey, if you wanted to take some time off of running, I get it. Let's go lift and let's go swim. So there's other things to work on just besides running, but you just have to look at it in your timeline. Is it worth the risk? I've had a lot of guys do a lot of martial arts too while they are training before they go to buds. And then guess what? They break a wrist, they break a hand, they pop out an elbow, doing something stupid, or they get an ankle lock on them that, had them sprain their ankle. Those things take away from your ability to train. So I think anything right now, if you are preparing for a selection program, anything right now that takes you away from training is not an option. You don't have that luxury to be able to do that. If you're 1 year out, maybe, right? If you're 6 months out, there's no way. There's no way at all. So, like I said, you have to figure out where you are on that line of building mental toughness or getting stupid. Okay, so I answered that one. Work out early in the morning. As soon as I wake up, I do the same thing. What's a good pre-workout meal? Currently, I'm doing more hypertrophy workout. Hypertrophy workout, you're going to need some carbs in the morning. You're going to burn a lot of carbs in a high volume workout. I typically do this. I will eat a banana and some juice, and that's it, and go into the workout. But I'll bring some with me. I'll bring another banana. I'll bring some Gatorade or some kind of juice that I like that agrees with my stomach, because probably about 30, 45 minutes into that workout, I'm going to feel like I'm lightheaded. I'm kind of dizzy because I just burned out all my blood sugar. I've burned out all my glycogen, and now I'm just about to pass out and be nauseated. And before you get to that point, that's when you need some food. You need something that has some sugar in it, and that will pick you right back up. And if you sip something throughout your workout, you'll never get to that zone, which, it's not a bad thing to figure out where that is. Because depending on what you ate the night before, how much glycogen you stored up and how much blood sugar you have, usually in the morning, we're at our lowest blood sugar levels just because we haven't eaten in 8-10 hours, maybe. So yeah, that's what I do. And like I said, whenever I'm feeling it, I will I'll do one of two things. You either have to change gears and go into a lower heart rate cardio mode. Like usually what we do is we got nothing left after our run and our PT and our lift, but then we're going into swimming. So I'll jump into swimming, cool my body down a little bit. That helps a lot. And then just do a nice, easy swim workout, good technique, still fast. And I keep my heart rate down. So I'm not really in that glycogen burning mode. I'm kind of brought myself down to a more cardio based fat burning mode. And that's the way you move forward. So it's either you change energy systems or you keep fueling the glycolytic energy system. So good question. I like that one. Made me think a little. Which of your books would you recommend for a beginner? I have several. I have a 90-day beginner program. I have beginner workouts in the brand new one I just came up with, calisthenics and cardio. I have beginner programs in just about all of my workouts. Tactical Fitness Over 40 series. I have a beginner program and Complete Guide Navy SEAL Fitness. It's intermediate to beginner. It's not a true beginner phase, but it's pretty easy. But with any book that you get, and this is a good kind of a place to leave off because I'm going about 50 minutes here. Any book or program that you get offline that's not yours, that's not personally made for you, you're going to have to make some tweaks to it. So if you're a beginner picking up a book and maybe it's intermediate level, maybe it's a beginner to someone else, but it's an intermediate level to you, you may have to change some of those times that you're doing cardio. You may have to change some of the reps or strength exercises um, as you build up. And then what I would do is maybe go through about 4 weeks of that with altered, making it easier, and then start over again and see if you can do it without altering it. And that's good progress if you can do that. And then do the next 4 weeks the exact same way. You alter it a little bit and go back again and see if you can get through it and not have to alter it. So that's how you make a book more personalized for you, and you have to do that. Otherwise, if you do a book, you pick up what I call a beginner running program, and you haven't run for 20 years and you're 350 pounds, you know, running 5 times a week, 1 mile a day is a beginner running program, but it may not be a beginner running program for you. And if you weigh that much, I wouldn't recommend running at all. And I'd recommend replacing all running with biking or elliptical or some non-impact form of cardio, because your knees are going to hate you running at 350 pounds. So there you go. Hey, I got to go. I went 50 minutes on this one. If you guys have questions, and I see there's a lot of questions I did not get to, and I apologize for that. Just leave them in the comment section and within this video, and I will get to them. So just go in there and cut and paste your question or ask your question again and post it in the comment section below. And if you read the description, I will link some of those articles that I recommended as well. So there you go. If you got anything that you want to pick up on, anything you want to learn, please ask questions. If you want to go to a good place to pick up some more information, StuSmithFitness.com, and go to the article section. I've written some really good articles that really are a lot of these questions in there that are, PST based, buds based, stupid questions based, all of those things that I talk about, and beginner based, for instance. They're all in there. If you go into that article section, you'll see some good reading there for just to get started and, give you something to, place to look up for information. So sorry, I can't answer any more of these emails, but I actually got to get to work. Thanks for joining. And if you have any more questions, like I said, just leave them below and I will get to them. I promise.